Pastor Jamal Bryant getting cancels from New Birth Church. Imagine this. A pastor, someone millions look up to, someone whose words inspire thousands every week, suddenly finds himself in the middle of a storm he never expected. Pastor Jamal Bryant, known for his fiery sermons and magnetic personality, has always been seen as a guiding light by his followers. But today, that light is flickering. Something has happened at New Birth Church, a place he once called home, and now the community is divided. People are talking, sharing posts, and debating online, asking the question, how did a respected pastor end up being canceled by the very church that supported him? As the story unfolds, you'll see how a few words, a single moment, and a clash of opinions can change everything. This isn't just a story about one man, it's about leadership, loyalty, and the fine line between respect and controversy. By the end, you'll understand why even the most powerful voices can face challenges they never saw coming. Pastor Jamal Bryant is not just any preacher. He is a man who has built a name for himself through hard work, determination, and a voice that reaches far beyond the walls of his church. Known for his powerful sermons and his ability to connect with people, Jamal has inspired countless followers to rethink their lives, find hope, and believe in their potential. His social media presence is equally strong. Every post, every video, every message sparks conversation and sometimes controversy. New Birth Church, where Jamal has spent years serving, is no ordinary place either. It is a large and influential church, known for its traditions and the strong bond between its leadership and congregation. Over the years, Pastor Jamal has become a central figure in this community, a face that represents faith, guidance, and inspiration. But even in a place filled with admiration, tension can quietly build. Small disagreements, different perspectives on leadership, and the challenges of balancing influence with tradition start to surface. At first glance, everything seems perfect. A charismatic pastor, a respected church, and a devoted following. But beneath the surface, subtle signs hint at upcoming conflict. It's these small cracks that can grow into a storm. And in this story, those cracks will soon become impossible to ignore. Outline 3. The build-up/rising action. Detailed script. It all began with a single sermon. Pastor Jamal Bryant, known for speaking his mind, decided to address a sensitive topic during his Sunday service at New Birth Church. While his words were meant to inspire reflection, they unintentionally clashed with some long-standing beliefs held by the church leadership. Congregants who had always admired him were suddenly unsure how to react. Some nodded in agreement, others whispered quietly, and a few even left the service feeling unsettled. Outside the church, the situation quickly spread online. Clips of the sermon began circulating on social media. Followers praised Jamal for his honesty, calling him brave and fearless, while others criticized him, accusing him of disrespecting tradition. Discussions turned into debates, and debates turned into heated arguments. The church leadership, watching the reactions carefully, started feeling pressure. Emails, calls, and messages poured in from members who were confused or upset. The tension continued to grow as Jamal remained unapologetic. He defended his message, explaining that his goal was to challenge people to think, not to create division. But the more he spoke, the stronger the reactions became. Friends and supporters encouraged him to stand firm, while critics insisted that he was overstepping boundaries. What began as a thoughtful sermon was now the spark that could ignite a much larger conflict. The stage was set for a confrontation that no one in the church would forget. The tension reached its peak one Wednesday evening when the church leadership finally addressed the situation. In a carefully worded statement, New Birth Church expressed concern over Pastor Jamal Bryant's recent sermon, claiming that it had caused confusion and division among the congregation. The statement didn't attack him personally, but it was clear. Jamal was being officially called out. The news spread like wildfire. Members of the congregation were shocked, some saddened, others frustrated. Social media exploded with reactions. Supporters defended Jamal passionately, praising his courage to speak the truth, while critics argued that he had crossed a line and disrespected the church's traditions. Every post, every comment, every news article seemed to add fuel to the fire. Inside his office, Jamal felt a mix of disbelief and resolve. He had always known his words could be controversial, but he never imagined facing this kind of public backlash from a church he had dedicated years of service to. In private messages, some friends urged him to apologize, but Jamal remained firm in his beliefs. The confrontation had become unavoidable. The pastor who once inspired unity now found himself at the center of a storm, navigating a fine line between conviction and conflict. This was the moment when admiration turned into scrutiny and respect teetered on the edge of controversy. For the first time, Pastor Jamal Bryant truly understood the weight of influence and the fragility of public opinion. The fallout was no longer just a rumor or a headline. It was real, immediate, and unavoidable. In the days that followed, the aftermath of the conflict became impossible to ignore. The congregation was divided more than ever. Some members continued to support Pastor Jamal, praising his honesty and his courage to challenge norms. Others felt betrayed, questioning whether someone so influential could overstep the boundaries of respect and tradition. Conversations at home, over coffee, and in community groups were filled with heated debates. Social media became a battlefield. Hashtags supporting Jamal trended alongside those criticizing him. Viral posts shared clips of the sermon, screenshots of the church's statement, and opinions from both sides. News outlets picked up the story, framing it as a clash between tradition and modern thinking in religious leadership. The church leadership faced pressure from members, the public, and even the media. Every statement they made was scrutinized, every action questioned. For Pastor Jamal, life had changed dramatically. His phone never stopped buzzing with messages, some encouraging, some angry. The pastor, who once stood at the center of admiration, now faced the challenges of influence, reputation, and community expectations. Yet, even in the midst of criticism, Jamal remained thoughtful and reflective. He began to see this moment not just as a setback, but as an opportunity to understand the fine balance between conviction and diplomacy, to connect more deeply with his supporters, and to navigate the complicated world of public influence. The fallout was real, intense, and unavoidable, but it also showed a truth about leadership. Influence comes with scrutiny, and even the most respected voices cast out the Pastor Jamal Bryant's life had suddenly shifted from normalcy to a whirlwind of scrutiny. Inside New Birth Church, members whispered to one another, some expressing shock, others confusion. Longtime supporters struggled to reconcile their admiration for Jamal with the church's warnings. Coffee shop conversations, community gatherings, and family discussions were dominated by one question: how could this happen to someone so respected? The church that once felt like a sanctuary now seemed like a battleground. Meanwhile, outside the church walls, social media amplified every reaction. Clips of Jamal's sermons circulated endlessly, each one interpreted differently. Some hailed him as a voice of courage, someone willing to speak uncomfortable truths that many leaders avoided. Others criticized him as reckless, accusing him of dividing the congregation and disrespecting the church's values. Hashtags in support of Jamal trended alongside hashtags defending the church, creating a digital tug-of-war that felt personal to everyone involved. Comments, replies, and shares multiplied by the hour, turning a single sermon into a nationwide conversation about leadership, faith, and accountability. The church leadership found themselves under intense scrutiny. Every post, every statement, and every decision they made was dissected. Members demanded answers. Was Jamal stepping out of line? Was the church too harsh? Were traditions being questioned too boldly? The pressure was constant, and the tension inside the church grew with each passing day. Even friendly gatherings between congregation members became filled with debates, some calm, some heated, leaving a sense of unease that had never existed before. For Pastor Jamal himself, the aftermath was both exhausting and enlightening. He received messages of support from people all over the country, letters, emails, and DMs praising his courage. At the same time, he faced criticism from people who felt disappointed, angry, or betrayed. He struggled with mixed emotions, the pride of standing by his words and the weight of the unintended impact they had on his church community. Nights were sleepless as he reflected on what went wrong, what could have been done differently, and how he could maintain his integrity while repairing relationships. Despite the tension, Jamal began to see the situation differently. He realized that leadership came with unavoidable scrutiny, and that influence was a double-edged sword. It could inspire, but it could also provoke. The fallout became a learning moment, a chance to understand community dynamics, empathy, and the fragile balance between speaking the truth and respecting tradition. Though the days were chaotic and the criticism sharp, Jamal held on to the belief that growth often comes through adversity, and even the harshest challenges could lead to personal and spiritual reflection. The church community was forever changed. Some relationships were strained, others strengthened, and new conversations began about faith, leadership, and the role of modern perspectives in traditional spaces. The fallout was real, unavoidable, and intense, but it also highlighted a universal truth. Even the most admired leaders must navigate scrutiny, criticism, and the delicate art of balancing conviction with connection. As the dust began to settle, Pastor Jamal Bryant and the New Birth Church were left to reflect on the whirlwind of events. What had started as a single sermon had grown into a full-blown debate, testing relationships, reputations, and the very foundations of trust within the community. Yet, amid the chaos, a lesson became clear. Leadership is never just about words. It is about responsibility, empathy, and understanding the ripple effects of every action. Jamal learned that even the most thoughtful messages could be misunderstood or spark controversy, and that influence carries weight beyond what anyone can predict. The church learned that adapting to new perspectives while honoring tradition is a delicate balance, one that requires dialogue, patience, and openness. For both, the experience was humbling, a reminder that respect and conviction must coexist if a community is to thrive. For those watching, this story offers a reflection on power, communication, and the human side of leadership. Even when mistakes are made or conflicts arise, the opportunity to grow, reconcile, and learn remains. Pastor Jamal's journey is a fictional story, but it mirrors a truth many leaders face. Influence is a privilege, scrutiny is inevitable, and resilience is essential. In the end, the question is not who was right or wrong, but how we navigate the challenges that come when our words and actions touch the lives of many. Leadership, faith, and integrity are tested in ways we cannot always control, but it is in these moments that character is revealed. And perhaps, as Pastor Jamal reflected quietly, the true measure of a leader is not in avoiding controversy, but in how one responds to it, learns from it, and continues to inspire even in the face of criticism. As the storm gradually settled, Pastor Jamal Bryant and the New Birth Church found themselves in a rare moment of quiet reflection. The events of the past few days had tested every relationship, every perception, and every assumption within the church community. What had begun as a single sermon, a message meant to challenge, inspire, and provoke thought, had grown into a situation that forced everyone involved to examine the delicate balance between tradition, leadership, and personal conviction. Jamal realized that leadership was never just about having a strong voice. It was about understanding the weight of every word, the ripple effect it can have on people's lives, and the responsibility that comes with influence. The church leadership, too, faced an important lesson. They saw that guiding a community requires more than enforcing rules or protecting tradition. It demands listening, empathy, and the willingness to adapt when perspectives evolve. Even as they felt the need to maintain authority and cohesion, they understood that rigid responses can sometimes deepen divides instead of healing them. Both Jamal and the leadership recognized that growth often arises from discomfort, and conflict, though painful, can illuminate areas where understanding and communication were lacking. For the congregation, the fallout sparked a new conversation about faith and leadership. Members reflected on their own beliefs, reconsidered how they engage with leaders, and discussed the importance of open dialogue within the church. Some felt vindicated in their support for Jamal, while others appreciated the importance of tradition and structure. These conversations were sometimes tense, but they were necessary for the community to heal, reconnect, and grow stronger together. For Jamal personally, the experience left a lasting mark. He learned that courage and conviction often attract both praise and criticism. True leadership requires resilience, the ability to admit mistakes when necessary, and the wisdom to navigate situations where opinions clash. He understood that influence is a double-edged sword. It can inspire millions, but it can also amplify mistakes and misunderstandings. Yet, instead of retreating, he saw an opportunity to strengthen his message, deepen his connection with followers, and continue leading with integrity, humility, and authenticity. The story of Pastor Jamal Bryant and the New Birth Church is fictional, yet it reflects a truth that resonates far beyond the walls of any church. Influence, respect, and leadership are inseparable from accountability. Even the most admired figures can face criticism and challenges that test their character and vision. And in these moments of scrutiny, reflection, and adversity, the true measure of a leader is revealed, not by avoiding conflict, but by how one responds, learns, and continues to inspire others despite it. In the end, the lesson is clear. Words have power, influence comes with responsibility, and leadership is a journey of constant reflection. Challenges, disagreements, and misunderstandings are inevitable, but they are also opportunities to grow, to connect, and to demonstrate the resilience and integrity that define real leadership. For Pastor Jamal Bryant, the experience was a reminder that even in controversy, there is room for growth, understanding, and a renewed commitment to guiding others with both courage and compassion.